Sorry. So welcome guys, welcome. Good morning. This is going to be a very interesting training, let's call it that way, because it's more the theoretical part of how we run illustrations on the executive bonuses. But before we get started and talk a little bit about the concept overall, I want to say hi to Miss Whittaker. Erin's on the line. For the people that don't know Erin, I'm going to let you guys hear from her very briefly what she does for a region, who she is, because everybody should know Erin Whittaker. She's our super secret weapon, I call her. So introduce yourself.
All right, thanks, Paulo. Good morning, everyone. I hope you guys are having a good day one of the new month, April 1. So just a little background about me. I've been with Transamerica in some way, shape, or form for a total of 16 years now. But I am currently your sales partner for this region, Florida, Georgia, and Puerto Rico. And a little bit about what I do is my day-to-day is really on the back end. So I look at all of the submitted cases that come through, and I just kind of help push those along. So if there's something that is stuck in the background that maybe there's nothing that you can do about it, I'm watching those and reaching out to the underwriter or to our internal teams just to kind of push it along. If there's something that I'm waiting on from you, maybe it's just a form or maybe approved other than applied or permission to draft, something like that, I'm going to reach out via email to make sure that you guys are getting that done so that we can get those policies issued for you, because the faster we get these policies issued for you, the faster you guys get paid your commission, which I know everyone is wanting. So that's really my day-to-day. I also deal with escalation. So if you have followed all the proper channels, you've gone to case management, underwriting, enforce, whatever the situation is, and you just feel like you're at a dead end, then that's when you would reach out to me, and I will do my best to get whatever the situation is rectified for you.
Good morning. My name is Elizabeth. So, Erin, how do we get to you if we need information? How do we contact you?
Great question, Elizabeth. So you can just email me. My email address is my first name dot last name at transamerica.com. And Paula's bringing up the screen right now with our information. I do have a phone number there. I will tell you that it is faster for you guys to email me because, for example, right now I'm on a meeting with you all, right? So if someone calls in, I can't answer the phone because I'm in this meeting here. But while Paula's talking, I can kind of multitask and be responding to emails in the background while also assisting her. So I do prefer email, and it is a faster response time that way.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Miss Whittaker.
You're welcome.
Guys, quick fun fact. So guess how much, how much money did Erin help us push for our region last month? Meaning she actively worked on cases that were stuck or sitting there just to help us push and work with our teams internally to push all that business. Can you share that number with us, Miss Whittaker? I think you're muted.
I did mute myself. Sorry. So let me get you March's number. Let me see where I'm at. Okay, 1.7 million for March.
Wow. When you think about $1.7 million, that is $1.7 million of premium, meaning that's $1.7 million also in commissions. So Erin, thank you for all you do. We're lucky to have you. And with that being said, guys, let's jump into today's topic, which is executive bonuses. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We're going to talk briefly about what executive bonuses are meant for, how they kind of work. I think someone has a mic open. If you guys can please mute yourselves. There you go. So how they work And then we're also going to do and be a little bit more, spend a little bit more time on how to illustrate them. And I'm going to show you guys, a lot of you guys have never used our sales concepts for executive bonus. So I'm going to show you that amazing trick as well. So let me go ahead and share my screen. All right. So executive bonus plan. Let's talk about really what their purpose is. And the true purpose for an executive bonus when we think about this concept is what? It helps business owners retain talent, okay? An executive bonus, it's a bonus that an employer can give to one of their employees to either retain them, to motivate them, to incentivize them. So the best way to think about this is think about it with WFG. When you guys do really good performance, they give you what? A bonus, right? So it's kind of a similar way, but instead of giving money to that employee, because they can literally make a bonus and leave the next year, right? Instead of just giving them money, they can set up an executive bonus through a life insurance where they're going to be paying the premiums for that life insurance, and they have certain ways to control that cash value that is building in there so that the employee just doesn't leave next month and they took the money. So we're going to be talking about all those concepts today. But what are the benefits for a business? Let's think about really what are those benefits. So executive bonus is not a life insurance. Executive bonus is a tax code that allows to make deductions on a part of the premium to those company or to that employer. Okay, so it's just a tax code. So a lot of people ask me, well, Paula, so does that mean that when I'm doing an illustration, I'm selling an executive bonus? No, you're selling the same FFIUL2 that you usually sell. It's just the name that it's a tax code. It's called executive bonus, which is called the 162 plan. Okay, the 162. That's the IRS code that allows again to use some some tax deductions for the employer. So what are the benefits for a business? Again, is to simply retain and reward key employees. Okay, that's the biggest reason. Again, bonus amounts can be tax deductible as long as compensation is reasonable. Paula, define reasonable, because reasonable is very broad. It's usually 30% of the income of that person. So if the employee is making $100,000, what's reasonable about, $30,000 bonus. Why is this letter in here? Because a lot of the times, who is that key employee in the business? And let's think about small businesses, right? If I'm a business owner, who's the keyest employee in that business? The owner. Does that mean that we can also write an executive bonus for a business owner? Yes, because they're the keyest employee. But again, remember, the bonus under the tax law, it has to be reasonable. So if let's say that I own a business and I'm only reporting or paying myself, I don't know, $50,000. Well, I can only set up an executive bonus of 30% of that, which is reasonable, quote to quote. Okay, keep that in mind. Now, it is easy to implement and administer. And one of the coolest parts about executive bonus is, think about this. If you're setting up an executive bonus, you can choose to what employees you want to give this to. On the other hand, if you compare this to a 401k, let's say we're going to give, as a business, all the employees need to get 401k or not get it. You cannot pick to who you want to give a 401k option, correct? Here, the executive bonus is a good way to pick and incentivize those key performers or those key employees. You don't have to give it to everybody. And it's you can customize it based on the employee that's receiving, this case, the bonus. Okay. Now, benefits for the executive or the person receiving the bonus. Well, that's That's premiums, right? There's cash value in there that you're going to build throughout the time. There's also life insurance. There's a lot of great benefits that come with having an executive bonus or life insurance, right? The person, the employee, is the owner of the policy. All right. So who owns the policy? The person receiving the bonus. So if I have company, let's think about this. Let's say you have a car dealer, all right, and you have someone that has a car dealer, and you found out that they have an employee that is the employee of the month, and he usually sells the most cars. Well, you don't want that person, that great salesperson, to go to another car dealer, right? Because you want to retain that key employee. So what you can do as a business owner is you can tell them, well, let's set up an executive bonus for your employee, because you'll have tax advantages in terms of the premiums that you're giving them, but also by them receiving the executive bonus, what we're going to do in there is we're going to set up what? A REBA agreement. REBA agreements are important when we talk about executive bonuses, because it's the way that we can prevent from that employee by leaving us on the first year. So REBA, what it means is that you have a restricted agreement in place that tells you how many years do they have to stay with the company in order to have ownership of that cash value. For example, we can set up a REBA, and we're going to see how to illustrate that as well today, where we can, it's almost like vested, you know, when someone has a 401k and you tell them, okay, if you stay with the company for 2 years, we're going to vest you, which means we're going to give you 50% of that cash value or that amount of money that you're saving. If you stay 7 years, we're going to give you 75. If you stay over 10 years with the company, we're going to give you 100% ownership of that cash value. So it's a way to restrict and to set up almost like a plan to incentivize that person to stay for a longer term. Okay, that's why it helps us retain talent. It has that death protection, of course, and it builds up tax-free money for retirement. So when we really think about an executive bonus sale, it's just a sales concept, because it's just another FFL IUL sale that you guys are familiar with. Okay. Now, this document that you guys are seeing right now, it's available in Agent Central. So if you want to go ahead and download the PDF, it's very simple. You guys are going to be able to go to your Agent Central, click on brochures, and you're going to be able to have this as well. I'm also going to be sending, before the end of the day, a quick email to everybody that registered for our training today. And I'm going to send a copy of our training with the PDF as well for your records, okay? Now, this is the easiest way to understand this. The employee, which is the owner, right? They pay for the premium. Who do they pay the premium to? Transamerica. Now, Transamerica pays, the employee pays the premium to Transamerica. Now, who gets the policy and the benefits of the policy? The employee, right? The employee. The employee owns the policy and gets the benefits. So if they die, who gets the benefits? Their families, their beneficiaries. It's a bonus that is completely being given to that person. Now, what can happen is maybe the employee says, well, I like this idea, but I'm going to have to claim all this money because it's a bonus as income, and I don't want to pay taxes on that. So the employee also has the option to negotiate those taxes, that tax responsibility, and we can technically build what we call a double bonus plan, a double bonus. That means that we're going to pay for the premiums and for the tax responsibility. All right. This was just a quick overview. Today, the idea is for you guys to kind of learn more on the illustration part. We'll have other trainings where we do a very long explanation on executive bonuses, but today is more what we call an an illustration training on how to illustrate this concept. So let me move this from here and let's go into our agent home. Paula, if I want to start using this strategy with business owners, how do I illustrate? Where do I go? Is there like an executive bonus application specifically? No. All you got to do is go to your Life Illustrator, to your system. And here's where it really gets different. So let me go ahead and start a new case. Okay. So this is where you have to pay attention because I don't think majority of you guys are using this technique. And if you go into your product, which is the Transamerica FFIUL2, all right here, when we select the product, before you select the product, do you guys see right here where it says concept? All right, if you hit that concept, did you guys know that we have illustrations tailored for long-term care? We have illustrations tailored for Social Security bridging. And even better, we have a tailored illustration for executive bonus for business owners. I want to see some hands. How many of you guys knew that this existed? No one here, no one here. Okay, I see. Look, I'm seeing Rita was saying yes, she knows that existed. Mr. Morton also. Who else? All right.
Never. This is amazing.
Yeah. In conclusion, majority of you guys didn't even know this existed. So I'm going to show you what it looks like and what we can do for our business owners. All right. So executive bonus. We're going to go ahead and select our product. And we're going to start our illustration. So step number one, we're going to go through the tabs, but step number one is to build that case design for that executive bonus. So the first thing that we're going to put in here is the premium. How much premium is that company going to set aside for that employee? Let's say they want to put, $20,000 bonus for the employee. So we're going to go ahead and put it right here. $20,000. And we can also select for how many years they want to put that money, right? Because maybe they only want to put this for 10 years or 5 years. So we get to assign it that way. So let's say that this company is going to pay the premium for, like I said, 10 years. So let's say that the employee is 35 years old. So let's put, they're going to be paying this until age 45. All right. So then we're going to select what type of bonus we're using. Is it single? Is it double? Right? We just talked about that if the employee wants to just give them the bonus and give them that responsibility to pay the taxes to the person receiving, we call it single. But if the employer wants to also cover for that bonus, we call it a double bonus. Okay. Well, let's go ahead and select single for now, and I'll show you in a minute. That's how it looks different. Hey, sorry guys, I got 4 dogs here. Now, we can also select if this is a restricted agreement. What does this mean? This means that if we select that it is restricted, we're also going to be able to illustrate the vesting schedule. Okay? What does this mean? Well, like I said, maybe the employer says, I want to give you only 10% if you leave me in the first year. Now, if you stay with me for 2 years, I'm going to give you ownership of 20%, then 30%, 40%, blah, 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 all the way to, let's say, 10 years. If you stay with me up to 10 years, then 100% of that cash value is going to be yours. So let's go ahead and set it as a restricted agreement. And this is, guys, this is called a vesting schedule. And then we're going to put what is the employer's tax rate. In this case, the employer tax rate, we're going to say that it's maybe it's like 30%. And then we're also going to put here the employee's tax rate. I said that they're paying, I don't know, 20% taxes. Why is this important? Because none of us wants to calculate how much money they're going to have to be paying in taxes or what's the deduction. No, the system does everything for us. And that's kind of cool because that way when you're talking to a business owners, you can show them the actual numbers of what that looks like. All right. So let's go ahead and set up the insured. Let's say that this is going to be for a business owner in Florida. We're going to call this John Smith. And we're going to go ahead and say they're 35 years old, male, and we're just going to put it as, let's put it as preferred. Now, policy design. When we're building this type of bonuses, we also want to ask kind of and get an idea how much life insurance they probably need, right? Because we have $20,000, but we also want to build something that is attractive, right, for the person receiving the bonus. Let's say that John is 35 years old and he just bought his first home. Maybe that mortgage is, I don't know, $300,000, $400,000. So it'll be kind of nice to have enough coverage in there so that if that person dies, they have enough money to cover for that, for at least leave something for their family. So let's say we're gonna put here $350,000 at least in life insurance. All right. I really like when we're talking about death benefit, I really like the optimal switch because what it tells us is we're going to start this at increasing. And when it's starting to cost us a lot of money because the client's getting older, so it's going to tell us when to switch it to level. So it's going to give us a suggestion of when to change that. Okay, so let's go ahead and use optimal switch. All right, so premiums. Same thing here. We said we're going to do $20,000 bonus, right? For only 10 years. So age 45, we're going to stop the premiums. And we're going to pay this annually, $20,000 once a year. There's no 1035s in this case. So simple. Now, let's go to our index accounts. We get to choose what index we want to use for the allocations. I'm going to tell you guys something really cool in case you haven't noticed. Transamerica just increased all of our illustration rates. Before, this one used to be like 725, 710. So as you can see, we literally just, this is a new feature that was launched last week. So if you pay attention to your illustrations, all of our indexes rates are now higher, which is really good. Why? Because we have been performing in all our indexes so well that we just got approval to increase those as well. What's the best part about this, guys? And I think this is important. So let's stop here for a second. There's a lot of companies over promising and under delivering. That's why there's a couple companies being sued right now because the illustration sometimes the first of all, the case is not designed the best way, right? But two, sometimes what's in the illustration is not really matching to the reality, and that's why policies lapse sometimes, right? So it's a combination of both factors. Now, Transamerica, and you guys might know this, we were called by Forbes one of the best insurance companies because we under promise and we over deliver. That's beautiful. So let's take a look at this for a second right here. So look at the numbers over here. So we're illustrating, let's say, for example, the balance on cap at 7.7, right? If I actually take time and I open my index at a glance, index, and I'm going to share this document with you guys as well because I think it's very important. This tells you a little bit about all our indexes and the history, how they're built. This is extremely important. But let's look at the uncapped for a second. Look, uncapped balance index account. It's going to tell us everything about that rate. What's the minimum interest rate? What's the participation rate? This has no spread, which is good. It's going to tell us also how much it's, the charges. It's important, to be clear. But the best part is going to tell us the history for the last 20 years. Why is this important? Because I don't know if you guys knew this, but just recently, some of the regulations changed, and carriers, not just Transamerica, but carriers overall are not allowed to show in the illustration the performance of indexes that haven't been around for over 10 years. All right. What does this mean? It affects probably all the companies that you work and the new products that they're using with new indexes. So we have to start using a lot these marketing tools so that we can show the customers an idea of, where we're heading with this. So what's the most important part here? Look at the performance for the last couple of years. 2023, 15%, 2024, 19%, 2025, it was over 20s. So this is huge. But the most important part here is what? The average. So our average is 10.87. Guess what? That is way higher than 7.7. So even though we illustrate really good things, the reality is majority of the times we're going to be able to give better results to our clients when they look, down the line. And that is huge. So for this training, we're going to go ahead and use 50% global, and we're going to do 50% uncapped. I really like the uncapped strategy because we have no roof, guys. It's uncapped, and it's been performing really well, and it's the one that has the highest average of all. Now, some agents don't like it because, let's say we don't have as much history. But again, that's why we have this type of documents. I mean, they're indexes, so it is very easy just to calculate numbers of what they would have paid. And I mean, there's not a better index performance right now than the balance uncapped. So keep that in mind, okay? As a matter of fact, we're gonna do 100% uncapped. All right, so income and targeting. That's if you want to go ahead and illustrate some distributions too for the client. For the activity today, we're going to keep it simple. And then we're going to go ahead and select our writers. Long-term care, I'm going to include long-term care. Super important, guys. What's the biggest difference between living benefits, critical and chronicle, and long-term care? Critical and chronicle does not pay dollar to dollar. What does that mean, Paula? That means that I've seen cases where you sold living benefits to someone and maybe they were 40 years old and they get a heart attack, all right, and they call and file a claim, and even though let's say they had a $500,000 policy, they went ahead and claimed for $200,000, and then they get a letter on the mail that says the following: due to your life expectancy formula, we're not gonna, for the $200,000 deduction on your policy, we're gonna go ahead and advance you, and they'll make you an offer. Only $5,000, $10,000. So the client's thinking, I'm gonna get $200,000, when in reality, all they get is $5,000, $10,000. And this is not Transamerica, guys. This is every single company. That's the way living benefits work, because it pays out based on life expectancy. So, and that will tell you, based on the data, a 40-year-old person with a heart attack can live up to 80 years old. And then the client's like, well, this is literally a scam. That's what they feel. And sometimes when we've never been through this, it feels that way for us, even as agents. All right. That's the importance of training and having the information right. That's the importance and the power of long-term care. On the other side, long-term care does pay dollar to dollar. So if someone is disabled and they cannot do 2 of the daily living activities, what's going to happen is they can go ahead and file a claim, and they can get dollar to dollar. So if they deduct $200,000 of your policy, how much money are you going to get? $200,000. So that's the biggest difference between general living benefits with all the companies and long-term care. Keep that in mind, okay? All right, and then last but not least, the output design. This is just kind of like what information or how you want that illustration to look. Why Transamerica is, it's good information to have in there. And then if you want to include any other things, you can also do that, okay? So calculate. All right, so let's take a look at the actual illustration, not just the tabular. All right, so why do I recommend always using the executive bonus illustration? Because it tells you in that illustration, and it's going to tell the client or the business owner all the information they need to know about an executive bonus. For example, it's going to give them the benefits. It's going to give them also the benefits for that executive, for that person receiving. We're also going to explain to them how it works, right? Who's the owner? So this really helps. Who's paying for the premiums? Who's the one responsible for the taxes, etc. Now, it will tell them about the single bonus and the double bonus. So as you're sitting down with those business owners, you can also tell them the difference between a single bonus and a double bonus. Even more important, it tells you the exact numbers as well. So employer information, who's paying the $20,000? And the employer. What type of bonus we designed today? Single bonus. Is there a cash value restriction? In the case design that we built, yes, remember there is a REBA. And there's a vesting schedule for the employee to stay in long-term with them. And it's also going to tell them kind of like an idea of the tax bracket. Then we're going to go through the employee information, and we're going to go through the life insurance policy information as well. All right. Now, this is pretty cool. Then it breaks down those numbers, right? So if they are paying $20,000, we're also going to calculate for them how much is going to be tax deductible. That's kind of cool because they can see, okay, so it's $6,000 is going to be tax deductible for my business. That's great. It's a tax advantage for them. Now, it also shows them kind of like the total plan overall, how much they're putting, how much is being deducted. And it also gives them the summary for the executive or the employer receiving the benefit, right? How much am I receiving? $20,000. Well, how much is going to be tax responsible for that employee is what? $4,000. Because if we said that it's going to be a 20% tax income and they're getting $20,000, well, they're going to have to pay some taxes over that money as well. So we calculate everything here for them. Now, if this was a double bonus, how much money would the client, the employee be responsible for? $0, right? Because then this $4,000 would be responsible to be paid where? On the employer side. All right. So let's look a little bit on the numbers over here. So this is kind of cool too, because look, we're literally telling what's the employer side and what's the employee getting. So what's the bonus payment? The payment's going to be $20,000 up to 10 years. What's going to be the tax benefit, their cost after the tax benefit, and then also a general summary of all the numbers for that employee. But the best part, as you can see here, is what? Also the cash value. If we go down, and I want to show you guys something really quick, really cool. Where is it? Right here. Look, when we use the executive bonus illustration tool, you even get the REBA in place for them to see it. So this is great because the employer can literally tell the employee, okay, well, we're giving you $20,000. There's going to be the cash value in that policy. So we can look over here. So in the first year, there's going to be $11,000 of cash surrender value. So if you leave, how much is for you? And it will show them only $1,000. Now, if you stay up to year 10, right? After year 10, we can see, all right, there's over almost $220,000 in that cash value. You see? Well, if they stay over 10 years, how much is going to be for them? 100% of that money. Now, a lot of people ask me, Paula, but who's the owner of the policy? Well, the owner is the employee. So they can literally call and use that money. So then you're going to be like, well, how is the employer going to control that if they just make a call and use all that money? Because they're breaching a contract. Well, that's why you always have to make sure that we suggest the employee, right, to always set up with the lawyer a REBA. A REBA is that restricted bonus agreement. It's a legal document. It's a one-page legal document that will tell you the vesting schedule. Because if that employee goes crazy, goes spend all that money, loans it, or takes it out, then at least that employer has a legal document and now can go after that person for breaching that contract. Okay? What happens if there's not a REBA? What happens if there's not a legal agreement in place? Well, that person technically it's their policy. They're the owner, so they can literally cash out all the cash value and disappear if they wanted to. All right? Keep that in mind. So again, if you guys have not used this illustration system, I think it is worth using it. And the reason why is because it literally breaks down everything for a customer, for the employer and for the employee. So this is a great tool to have. Okay. Let me see. Any questions so far? Please raise your hand if you have any questions, and I can always let me look at the chat as well.
This is really good stuff.
Who is that talking? We have 4 pages.
David Pickup, yeah.
Hey, David.
Hey, Paula. Good to
From
see you. Thank you so
Florida.
much. This is really great training. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, guys.
Yeah, and Boone, yeah, in this case it mec'd, so just increase the death benefit, do a minimum non-mec solve. It'll increase the death benefit to 450, and then the money going in gets level. Awesome training. I wish this is a super cool illustration, so thank you.
And again, guys, I think it's important to have this very clear. So a lot of people get confused between the executive bonus, again, being an actual policy or concept versus it being a sales strategy. The product we're using to fund these bonuses are what? The IUL products, right? Now, keep in mind, when you're running these type of scenarios for a business owner, there also a lot of people try to use certain strategies. And look, I even have this on a paper right here. The majority of the times, I see agents trying to sell this to business owners and to write one of these on themselves because they're the business owners, the keyest employee. Now, keep in mind, if the person has an LLC or an S Corp, this is what we call pass-through entities. So if the business is getting a tax advantage, right, from those premiums, who has to claim that income? The person receiving the benefit. And who is the person receiving the benefit? The owner. So that cancels one and the other. So there's not really a tax advantage in the present, but where is the tax advantage? In the future, right? Because it's all that money that we're putting away is helping us fund our retirement, and that is tax-free money. So keep that in mind. All right, Ms. Rita, questions?
Y dice que el dilema que ella tiene ahorita.
Yeah, so Paula, this is Tanisha. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Hey, yeah, I met you in
Yes, I
Dallas in
remember.
January. Yeah. So you just answered my question because I was like, I already have a huge IUL, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm gonna claim this on my taxes, but because I have 3 LLCs, but now you're like, no, it negates each other. So yeah, so thanks. But I can get other business owners to get IULs on themselves and their key employees. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you? I'm not an accountant, so I know nothing about accounting, but I can tell you that there is a loophole on a system. And when someone has a company and they pay themselves a salary on their W-2, the premiums are expenses. So that drives the total income of the company down, right?
Okay.
So we pay, as a company, we would pay less money because there's less income reporting. And that's helping you fund what? Even though you have to probably pay if you set it up as a double bonus, you're still driving that even lower because it's more expensive. So you pay less taxes and you're funding your retirement. I think that's a great idea, but you have to be paying yourself as a W-2.
And I do.
And
I
using
actually
the
do.
double bonus.
And I do pay myself as a W-2. So yeah, so I'll definitely let my CPA know that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's an interesting concept. Keep that in mind. Now, let me see. Ms. Rita? You had a
Yes,
question?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I finally found where I can mute.
Don't worry.
Okay, because is sometimes the platform we normally use Zoom. The Zoom is
Yep,
so
I
popular, so
remember.
we know how to navigate. But okay, anyway, yeah, it's a great presentation, and it's become clearer and clearer. On your example, my question is, in your example, the vested, right?
Yep.
On the 10-year is 100%, so now the client, which is your employee, have option to terminate herself from that company, because she or he found another employment. Okay, but she cash out she used the privilege, which is the cash value. Okay, so now, since the employee is no longer on that employer, is the policy still active?
So that's a great question. So let me pull it up so I can show you guys an actual number and we can pull it up. All right, here it is. All right, let's say that employee is working with the company, right? So how much is really their cash in year right here? In the first year, it's only $1,130, right? And let's say out of the whole money, let's say they worked with the company for 5 years. So even though the cash value has $82,000, only $41,000 really it's theirs based on that
Available.
agreement. Now the owner is the employee, so they have access to all the money.
Yeah.
Right? So they can literally again take that money and disappear. But that's where we have a legal agreement in place that shows this vesting schedule, so that now the employer now is probably going to have to sue them for that money because it's not theirs, right?
Okay. So now, let's say she worked for 8 years, and she moved out, and then she get another job. Okay, and so now they have a restrictive agreement, which is the RIBA. Okay, so now, okay, so whatever is the agreement in there, okay, so this is what I received.
So
But
8 years. So
Yeah.
8 years. So there's $151,000 in the cash value. Now
then
they
only
are
121.
only entitled to have $121,000. That's what they've earned. So they'll take 121 and they have to pay the company the remaining of that money. Now, always keep in mind, Ariba is there to protect who? The employer. Right? They have the right to also say, I want to put it in force or not. Maybe it was a really good employee for 8 years. And maybe they just have to move to another state because their parents got cancer and they have to go take care of them. They have the right to not put it in force. They can say, you know what? Just keep the total money. You've been a great employee. But again, this is meant to protect the employer, because if they do leave, maybe not in a good situation at 8 years, they still owe the company almost $30,000, which is the difference, and they do have to pay them back.
Okay.
Okay.
But how about the death benefit, Paula?
So the death benefit, the employee gets to decide if they want to keep or not the policy. Remember, they're the owners of the policy. So if they leave at year 8, well, the company's they're not gonna continue to pay for those premium. So thank God it's what we call a flexible, right, payment, because they can maybe reduce that for a smaller amount, and they want to continue to make contributions to their policy. It's their policy. Remember, they are the owners, so they get to decide if they want to keep it or just lapse it.
Got you. So on this example, let's say 10-year, right? Completed the vested 10 years. And then now, the into scenario, if the employee stays there, right, and finish the 10 years contribution vested, and she just let it grow there without any payment anymore, correct?
Let's look at it. Look, payments $20,000 only for 10 years. At age 65, that employee for staying loyal with the company is going to have over $736,000 in their cash value, thanks to being loyal to that company for 10 years.
Yes.
And it has over $1 million in cash value. At age 70, they have over $1 million. Yeah, you can see it there. It's pretty good.
Mhm.
Una manera
All
de
right. So,
abrir un
Olga, I see
por
Olga,
medio
you
de la
have
empresa
3
para
hands
esa
up, even though we only have 2.
I would love to ask, this is we can use for to offer this insurance for trucking company for example, who have 50 truck drivers, and for them, I believe it's not more important that IUL or whole life insurance, but what it's the beneficiary is their family, but the primary who pay for insurance is the owner. What in that case to do if they're gonna leave the company or just don't interested, then they're not interested anymore to work for the company. What in that case is gonna be?
So remember, the person receiving the benefit, which will be the truck driver, they're the owner of the policy and the beneficiary is their family. If they crash and die, who gets that benefit? The family. And again, if they stop working for the company, they have the right to keep paying for their premiums and keep their policy because it's theirs. They're the owners. Or they have the opportunity also to say, well, you know what, I'm not going to be making more payments. I'm done with the policy. And then they'll get their cash value. Now, if there is a rebuy in place, remember, then we'll go back to the same answer.
May I ask one more thing? I apologize,
Yeah.
just to take your time. For example, what if the primary who paid those, for example, he decides for all his employees to have IUL or whole life insurance? And let's pretend, why could he change the owner who paid for this insurance for somebody else the same policy, or just to stop to pay for the people who left his company? Or this is not gonna work so easy?
No, I mean, if you're the owner of a company, the cool part about this executive bonus is you get to decide who you want to pay that for. It doesn't have to be everybody, right? And you get to decide how many years you want to pay. It could be maybe just one year. So
because
yeah.
the reason why I ask, because lots of them, they want to just to protect the truck drivers, just for the reason to have employees for long term. But
Yeah.
for example, if truck drivers don't want to work anymore or just left the company on another businesses or something like that, what gonna do policy owner for with this policy for the employees?
Well, like I said, I understand that because truck drivers are hard to find, guys. And for example, in Texas, they're having a lot of issues finding drivers. All right, and they go
The same in
here and
Illinois
there.
right now.
Yeah, so this is a great to retain that talent. The company can set up REBA agreements in every single one of their policies to make sure that those employees stay with them long term. If they leave, they have the chance to, I mean, the policy will lapse because no one will pay for it. But they cannot take that cash value. I mean, probably depending on what they set up in that REBA agreement.
I got it. Thank you.
But
I appreciate.
Sorry to add to this,
Paula,
Olesa
I think
here.
I'm on the queue. Am I being,
But if they
skipped?
leave, can they take it with them as long as they pay for it?
They can take the policy because they're the owners, remember. So they're
Okay.
It's their choice. If they leave, they have to continue to pay premiums. Yes, but the cash value also keep guys in mind that they will owe the company money if they don't stay until the end of that vesting schedule.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So that could be another interesting topic, because let's say I stay with the company only for 5 years and now I have to pay them back out of the whole cash value that's in there, maybe $40,000. Do they have the cash to pay it? Maybe they can just loan the money, give it to them, and continue to work with their policy, right? That's a different conversation. That's why that REBA agreement really helps maintaining that talent inside the company. Miss Pamela?
Thank you, Paula. I wanted to know, as a small business owner, like if it's just your husband and yourself, is it unethical for, like, we actually in our community, we know a lot of people like us where it's just two of us, or maybe they have a son or a daughter, no more than 3 or 4 people. Is that ethical to write new business and do that for those people, or those couples, to get that for themselves as business owners? Is that okay for us to do work with people that we know? We know a lot of people, but it's not like a lot of employees. It's just like a husband and wife
Yeah.
team.
Remember,
So that's okay.
this is an IUL policy, so we can insure as many people as you want, whether they use executive bonus or not. That is an account conversation, because remember, that is just a tax benefit, right? A tax code. I always say, if you're selling to small business owners and it's an LLC or is an S corp, you're having the same conversation as the same that you're having right now, which I wouldn't. Which is just a fancy way of calling executive bonuses, because at the end of the day, you're just selling the same IOL policy.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Ms. Lara?
Yeah, hi, Paula. Thanks so much for this training. It's been a bit confusing with executive bonus, but we did get some clarity today. However, I have a question about the death benefit. So if the employee passes away while they're there, do they get does the family get the death benefit?
So, and that's why I always say, that's a great question. That's why I always say rely on these charts as well, because again, who's paying for the premium? The employee. Who's receiving the benefit? The employer's beneficiaries, right? Their family, because they own. Remember, they own the policy. So this is for the employee. So in that case, if they die, who gets that money?
The employee's family is an employee.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now I also have another question about the term option. So I had someone talk to me about the term option. What if a small organization says, you know what, I can't afford the IUL now. What about starting with a term policy, and how different is that going to look if it's not an IUL?
Well, you can always, and that's what we call also key employee insurance, and key employee insurance for your key employees are usually are used with term policies, which that's where we start. And but that's a different training, and then we pivot to IUL because it is the cheapest way to insure people. Now key employee, of course, that's another training itself, but you can always use that if you want to, because it's still a life insurance policy. So executive bonus doesn't say that it has to be an IUL. It's just saying it's a life insurance policy. So you can apply the concept as well.
So yeah, because I have attended that the key employee, and I'm trying to kind of draw the difference right now, because it does get a bit confusing in the middle for me. So the term would be more appropriate with key employee policies.
Yeah. I mean, for key employee, yes, that's a great place to start. For executive bonuses, remember the attractive part of someone. Okay, and key employee is different. That's why I don't want you guys to get confused. If you're doing a key employee policy, who owns the policy? The business.
The business.
If you're doing an executive bonus, who owns the policy? The employee.
The employee.
That's the biggest difference between those two concepts. Okay.
Okay. And the attraction with the executive bonus is
the cash value.
The cash value.
Yeah, because we're helping fund their retirement, because it's their money, right? So
yeah. Now the REBA is what protects the employee. Who sets that up with the lawyer or the attorney?
Probably the company. So we as agents, we should suggest to put in place a REBA. That we have to let the business owner know, hey, this is the way you can protect yourselves, so that John Smith doesn't fly away with the money, or if he leaves you, you don't lose all those contributions that you're making. So we suggest that, but it's their responsibility to set it up with a lawyer.
But the protection is for the employee.
No, employer.
Or the employer.
Yeah, because that's the way he's protecting that investment to keep that employee.
To keep that. Okay. Yeah. Well, great. Thank you so much, Paula. Thanks.
Sophia.
Hello, Paula. I wanted to ask about the same truck drivers. Usually they are 1099, non-W2. So how this works for them, or only the key employee?
No, this works for everybody, because remember, what the difference between the W-2 and the other conversation is for you to have some tax deductions on the personal side if you're the same business owner as the employee, right? Because it cancels. But in reality, is 1099. You get this is the same thing because you have an employer and an employee, and they're still gonna apply the same thing. Whether it's a single bonus or a double bonus, that's a different conversation, but it applies the same thing. They can be 1099s, they can be W-2s, it doesn't matter.
So the employer give the bonus to the employee, employee pays the insurance company. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Bernadine?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so is there a scenario where the premium is split between the employer and the employee, or is it always all the money has to come from the employer? And I was a little late. Can you expatiate on the tax benefits for me real quick? Thank you.
So no, it has to be paid by the business because that's the way that the business is advantage. Remember, if the client wants to go ahead and set up another IUL on the personal side, they can open a second policy, and I would not recommend to mix that because that would be a nightmare, right? What's yours? What's them? No, that's not how it usually works. The employee, right? The business owner is usually the business is paying the premiums. Keep that in mind. So if the company is paying the premiums, let's see if I can have it, pull it up here. If the employee is paying the premiums, who's getting that tax advantage? The employee. Now, who has to pay? So, Ms. Everton, Christy, question. When when WFG pays you a bonus, who pays for those taxes?
I do.
You do, right? Why? Because you're the one receiving. So same thing here. If it's a single bonus, even though the employee is paying the premium, they get the tax deduction. The employee is still getting a $20,000 bonus that is counted as personal income in their personal site. And they have a tax responsibility to pay the IRS as well. Okay? But if it's a double bonus, then the employee will take care of the premiums and the tax responsibility.
Got it. Okay. That's what that answered my question.
Good questions. All right. I see Mr. Everton. Do you have another question?
No, you just answered my question in regards
Perfect.
to it.
See,
So
I'm a mind reader too.
You are.
Rita, one more question you got?
Yes, one more question.
Yes.
I forgot. Okay. Because you example the annual premium. Is this also available for a monthly premium, not a one-time?
That's a great question. You can pay however you want. You can set it out monthly, yearly. That is up to you because not all the companies have cash flow to pay $20,000 in one pay. Listen, I've seen companies doing sometimes executive bonuses and all their employees, and they put $150 a month, $200 a month. So that's a great way also to, like I said, to retain talent. Don't get confused on the terminology. I'm going to say this one more time. Don't get confused with the terminology. Executive bonuses is just a tax code and a fancy name for the IUL that we set up for businesses and for their employees, okay? It's the same policy that you sell every day. It's the same FFL IUL too. The only difference in there is that the payer for the premiums is what? The company, the business, okay? That's really the biggest difference. When you're filling up your application, it's going to ask you concept. Just put other and put executive bonus. There doesn't really have to be anything like that, but it's the same process application. And then again, you're going to put in the payer information, the business account that's going to pay the premiums. Okay. Mr. Brian, question?
Yes. Hi, everybody. Question: Can the employee fund the policy with his own cash if he wants to?
can the employee, so that would be pretty much a personal policy. So in this case, this wouldn't be an executive bonus, right? It would be a
Okay.
personal policy. So that would become in a traditional FFLIUL sale versus executive bonus. Good,
Got it.
good thinking.
Okay.
So guys, I know there's going to be multiple questions. The last thing I want to make sure you guys take with you guys today, and I'll stay, you know, as soon as we're done, if you have one or two more questions, I'm going to stay for a couple more minutes, but we'll let kind of like everybody that needs to keep going with their day because it's been an hour already go. The last thing I want to mention is at some point when you start having these conversations with business owners, you're going to need some help. All right, we're gonna have some help because a lot of us are new with some of these concepts and we're gonna need support. I'm gonna tell you what we can do as a company to help you in that case. If you run into a big case, let's say, what's a big case, Paula? Define a big case. More than $10,000 in premium, all right? We have a resource in our company. I'm gonna put him here on the screen. His name is Trey Fairman. He's a tax lawyer and he's our director of advanced markets. He is available to jump in conversations when maybe you have a business owner that wants to put a lot of money in a policy for themselves, or maybe they want to fund a buy-sell agreement, a key employee agreement, or maybe an executive bonus for their employees. He's available to jump in those calls with the CPAs, accountant, and the business owners to help us have those conversations for us. Now, this doesn't mean that we're going to make the sale for you. This doesn't mean we're not going to be part of every call. This means that you already have discussed with your business owner an idea. You already have a premium, right? An illustration, because you already know how much premium it's going to look like. And then if they still have questions and you want us to come in and help you seal the deal, that's where you loop us in. You contact me. I'll help us get an appointment with Trey so that we can jump in that call with you guys and help you seal the deal. Okay, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, and the last thing I'm gonna let you guys with, we currently have an incentive that I recommend you guys to, you know, keep an eye on. Let me put that on the screen because this is a good one. How many of you guys want to go to a World Cup game? All right. So here, let me find it. Here it is. The ultimate goal. So we have an incentive going on since December. For every month that you sold more than $5,000 in annualized premium, you get a ticket, but not a ticket for the game. No, a ticket for a raffle. You can get up to 4 tickets in a month. Some of you guys already have tickets because I've seen your names in the ticket list. Okay. Yes. So what do I win if I win? And when is the raffle? So we're going to take our top 5 super bases, our top 5 base shops, our top 5 producers from December to April, but we're also going to pick 8 random winners that hold tickets. Random winners. So even if you have 1 ticket, you can win. What do you win? We're going to fly you. We're going to pay for your flight and your hotel to go to San Francisco. We're going to take you to a World Cup game, and we're not going to see you at the 400 level seat. No, we're going to take you on a VIP experience. We have a suite. Then you're going to be watching the game with the top performance of the company, with the top executives from Transamerica and WFG. But it gets better. The night before, we're going to take you to the San Francisco Transamerica Pyramid, our building. We're going to give you a tour of the building, and we're going to hold a nice special dinner and meeting at the top of that pyramid with all the winners. So, ooh. Nice. All right, guys, I'll stay 5 more minutes if you have any more specific questions. For the rest of the attendees, thank you so much for your time. I hope this was useful. I know today was not very specific on the executive bonus itself, but today was more about showing you guys what you can do with the illustrations, what you can do with these tools. All right. We'll have a lot more training on business planning, key employees, buy-sell agreements. So don't you worry, this is just a start. Have an amazing day, guys, and I will see you guys in a couple weeks.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
Paula.
Great.
Nice to see you on Hawaii at the dance floor.
Thank you, Paula.
Thank you, Paula and the
Take me
team.
back.
Awesome
Take me
training.
back.
Very
Ooh,
clear.
next year, Maui. Yes. Thank you so much for training.
Bye, my dear.
Send us the email, please, people who
Yes, I'll
register
send
with
it
the
before the end of the
registration.
day.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye-bye.
All right, ladies.